puzzles for you guys to help me solve. I know that we're not all math majors here or computer engineering, so these are going to be very, very simple. So please do them as quickly as you can in your head, and let's get started. So what is 5 plus 5? That's 10, correct? I think we can all agree that that's 10. This is very simple. So 4 plus 12, that's 16, minus 3, that's 13. Simple enough, correct? Well, what about now? I think we can all agree that these are a little bit more difficult than the last two problems. Well, imagine if every single time you look at numbers and symbols and this is what you experience. Everything just rearranges itself in your head that you can't seem to make sense of them. Hi, my name is Belle Chakrakpahu and I'm a psychology major with a specialization in clinical psychology, and I'm here to raise awareness about math dyslexia. But before we start talking about the disability itself, I would like to tell you guys about the typical mathematical development. So children learn how to count by the age of 5. They start by counting all. For example, 3 plus 2, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then that later develops into counting on 3, 4, 5. And this information you store knowledge, and so that's how you know that 3 plus 2 is 5. So more advanced strategies allow you to do the calculation, do the complex problems in your head. So math dyslexia, formerly known as math dyscalculia. It was not recognized until 1974 when the research was done by a clinical psychologist, Dr. Coast, and he described this disorder as a structural disorder of mathematical abilities caused by impairments in parts of the brain that has to do with calculation. So there are two types. The first one is developmental dyscalculia. That one, the child is born with the disability. And the second one is acquired dyscalculia, which is caused by brain injury or stroke. So what causes dyscalculia? Though there are no certain causes to this disorder, many researchers have identified as a brain-based condition, and there are 3 main factors. The first one is genetics. Based on various studies, a child with math dyslexia has a family member who also has difficulty learning math, and based on the twin studies, there's a higher concordance for identical twins than fraternal twins. The second factor has to do with brain development. So many parts of the brains are involved in number sense and calculations, but the most specific area is the intraparietal sulcus, which is located in the parietal lobe in the back of your brain. And so based on the study done in Finland, the brain activity in the IPS is atypical for children with dyscalculia compared to typically developing children. So these children have difficulty comparing and judging quantities. The last factor is the environmental factor. Math dyslexia has been associated with exposure to alcohol in the womb, and prematurity or low birth weight also have been linked to dyscalculia. So warning signs. In preschool, children have difficulty learning how to count, and they have difficulty recognizing numbers and symbols, so they can't really tell that number 7 is the same thing as the word 7. They also dislike playing a game that has to do with numbers and counting. In middle school, they struggle with to recall the basic math facts. For example, 3 plus 2 is 5. They have difficulty doing that, and they sometimes have to use their fingers to count simple math. In high school, they have difficulty applying mathematical concepts to daily living. For example, they have to use this app to keep track of how much money they have, and then they have poor sense of direction because they can't distinguish between left and right. So what skills are affected by dyscalculia? Social skill. They have low self-esteem because they might have failed math too many times, and they have poor sense of direction. Time and money management also is affected by this disorder also. So 6 to 8% of the population has math dyslexia, and there's equal prevalence for boys and girls. Without intervention, the disorder is more likely to persist. For treatment, normally people use direct instruction, so the instructor just identify the goals, and then they present the new materials to the children, like small steps at a time, and then they guide the student, they have a lot of practice, and then they start monitoring the progress. Don't diss my ability. So imagine the difference it could make if we focus on the strength of people with learning disability instead of their weaknesses. Thank you.
Questions for Belle?
You said 6 to 8% of the population has this.
Yeah.
Would you say a milder version of this dyscalculia or whatever is more widespread?
6 to 8, actually the number is a lot lower than that if it's no comorbidities, because most of the time it has like other disorder too, just like specific learning disorder for reading and or writing also. And so like normally it's lower than that, but this is like, yeah.
Is there a correlation between regular dyslexia and math dyslexia?